Initiating login sequence. Welcome to Alyx's world.
What is going on, YouTubers? Welcome to Alyx's World, a safe space for wrestling fans like you. Get situated a little bit. Man, I don't know what it is about today, but it's been cold. Colder than usual. That's why I got this on, but hopefully that's not a sign of something bad. Safe space for wrestling fans like you. I'm your host, Alyx. Just Alyx. Now, today we're going to be talking about The Undertaker, who recently did an interview with Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan Experience. In case you don't know who that is, just search up Joe Rogan Experience on YouTube or Spotify, but YouTube because it's free, and you'll get everything you need to know. He is very outspoken, and I think most of you should know who that is. Isn't he a commentator on UFC? Or one of the commentators on UFC? Regardless, I listen to his stuff all the time. I love his podcast. I love the way he does interviews, and I love the fact that he's completely, he's unbiased. He doesn't have a side. He lets everyone have a voice. He doesn't mind calling people out if they say something stupid. And you can say he's more conservative than, progressive, but regardless, I love those commentators who don't mind calling everyone out for their crap. You need that. He's a fair, unbiased, and constructive commentator. And he did an interview with The Undertaker. And in this interview, Undertaker held nothing back against the WWE product. He took a shot at the current product, if you will. So we're going to listen to what he had to say, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. Simple as that. And then you give me your thoughts in the comments and the live chat. So before we get to that, let's pay some bills. If this is the first time you're watching me and you want more, do me a solid favor. Like the video, subscribe, and click that bell to catch all my content when it comes out while you're at it. Help expand the brand by doing the following things. Like me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter at JustAlyxCentral. Also give me a follow on Instagram. Donate using PayPal, Patreon, and yes, Super Chats are officially on. Donate at any point in time during the broadcast to get your Super Chat played live on the air. And don't forget to buy yourself a t-shirt today. Pro Wrestling Tees. We got yourself a new school Alyx's World t-shirt. You can also get you an old school Deluxe Man t-shirt, but don't forget to buy you a blonde hair, blue eyes, apple pie, America t-shirt made by It's J Knox and Fire Star Heart. Thank you all for joining me for this live impromptu broadcast. Let me give a couple of shout outs to the people who are here. Thank you all for being here. I'm pretty sure we got quite the audience. Oh, before we get started, V Infusion. Mr. V Infusion is here. Now, if I'm not mistaken, V Infusion is quite the YouTube content maker here. If I want to get the exact number of the subscribers you have. I don't want to just be guessing. Over 100,000 subscribers. Yep, that's what I thought. Over 100,000 subscribers. Good to have a local content maker, wrestling content maker here watching me. I hope you enjoy what I have to say, sir. So give him a follow. Check him out. As for the rest of the live chat here, let me give a shout out to the moderators, of course. Ultra Shout 97 and Fire Star Heart. And let's see who here. We got the Beat Jr. The Trey Mara. The Trey Mara? Is that how you say your name? Cornbread. UK Power Unleashed. Let's see here. I want to be sure I don't miss anybody. Sammy Talks. Well, there's a lot of people here. Jet the Hawk. Okay. Hold up. I'm going to get y'all. Jimmy D. Billy March. Tokyo Rockstar, Darnell 16 player, Bryce Blackwell, New Japan Pro Wrestling girl, Sam 3. Is it Lit? Aaron Thomas, Steve Callan, True Fire 901, Phantasmo, Randall Hubbard, Sports and Things Show, Biff Annell, Tavon Jameson, Kurt Brisbane, Roar Fan Club, close enough. And who's gonna get the last one? Who wants to get the last one? Oh, former Super Chat champ Victor Velasco is in the house. Super Chat champion currently is nicknamed Mai, who is not here. But Victor Velasco will be looking to get that championship back, not this Sunday, but next Sunday. That's going to be quite the battle next Sunday. All right. So if I don't say your name, it's not because I hate you. I do want to get to this. So once again, here's how it's going to work. I am going to play for you. I'm going to play for you the clip, the audio clip. I'm not going to show any. Again, I'm scared to show you anything on YouTube because I might get copywritten for it. So I'll just play the audio, and then you're gonna get my thoughts on what he said, and then we'll go to the live chat, and then that'll be the end of it. Does it sound good? Does that work for y'all? I hope that works for you because that's what's getting ready to happen. So let me go to. By the way, I am gonna put a link down below in case you want to listen to it for yourself. If you go listen to the full episode, there is a link to the interview in the description box. It is 3 hours long, but I managed to find the clip where he made the statement here. So we're gonna go ahead and play it, and we'll talk. Here we go.
Do you still follow WWE now? Are you still?
Yeah, because I think once things kind of start to lighten up, hopefully.
Can you enjoy it as a fan, or is it like, are you too close to it?
I try. It's tough right now for me because the product has changed so much, and it's kind of soft.
Are you gonna get in trouble for saying that?
Probably. I probably piss a lot of people off, but they need to hear it. I mean, it is what it is. But to the young guys, he's a bitter old guy.
Right.
I'm not bitter. I did my time. I'm good. I walked away when I wanted to walk away. I just think the product is a little soft. There's guys here and there that have an edge to them. But there's too much pretty, not enough substance, I think, right now.
100%.
Damn. There it is. There's a clip. So, is he right? Is he accurate? Or is he a bit out of touch? And the real question I have for you, even if he's right, is it necessarily wrong that the product is soft? These are the questions I ask you, because we like to pretend that because the business has become a lot more safer, that's not necessarily a good thing. Let's call it like it is. I think, for me personally, you can disagree all you want, what I will say about the products nowadays, most of the people who are wrestling, I can guarantee you will have a longer lifespan than the ones who used to wrestle back in the day. The Undertakers, the Austins, the Ric Flairs, all of them. Now, Ric Flair's about to be 80, so 70, I think. How old is Ric Flair? How old is Ric Flair? But regardless, he's up there. I'm probably right when I say 80. Ric Flair age. Oh, never mind. He's 71. Not 80. He's 70. Jesus, but that's just it. Wait, he's younger than Vince McMahon? Ric Flair's okay. My mind was blown about that. He's younger than Vince McMahon. Wow. Oh, anyways, so how do I feel about this? Let me just kind of break this down and then give you my opinion on what was said. Do I believe the current product has become softer? Based off of what Taker defines as soft, we're talking about people who don't work as hard as Taker used to. Now, let's keep this in mind. Taker back in the day grew up during a time when they were doing 2 shows a night and there were no off days. It's literally 7 days a week, 2 shows a night. And the bumps they were taking were a lot harder. The reigns were a lot harder. And the people teaching them weren't as strategic. The way they taught them back then was, okay, get inside the ring. Oh, you suck? Smack, smack, kick, boom, headlock, more pain. Pain was literally a part of the territory. I think it was in one of Taker's one of the Taker documentaries on the WWE Network. I don't remember what episode it was. But he was asked how many injuries he gets, how many injuries he's ever had in his entire career. And I remember him saying it's over 100. The number is over 100. And then when asked how many surgeries he would have, he said at least 2 a year. Since he came back in early 2000s, he would get 2 surgeries a year. The guy is practically made of metal now. So, when you hear that guy say the product is too soft compared to the shit he went through, to the pain and the agony and the injuries and the era he came from, absolutely the product is soft. Absolutely the product is nowhere near as painful, as dangerous, as much of a grind as it was back then. And there's an argument that could be made to, all right, can the wrestlers respect the current product as much now? Because they don't pay as much.
I didn't see the clips, but I saw the quote Taker said and I understand what he is saying. And I agree in a way, but he said it so poorly in my opinion.
Well, and that's just what I'm trying to get at here. When you hear him say the product is soft, well, you have to understand who the hell Taker is, who Mark Calloway is. This is a tough motherfucker. This is the kind of guy, and I'm not making this up, when he was taking one of the entrances, I forgot which one it was one of the entrances, he was going, it was during the Chamber, was it 2010? Probably, whatever Chamber match he was in. One of the entrances, he was walking, and then the flames, the pyro that happens during his entrance, he accidentally stepped on one of the pyro mechanisms and got blazed. He got caught on fire. He was engulfed in flames. You know what the hell he did? He walked to the rest of the ring, poured water on himself, and still wrestled. He had 2nd-degree burns on his body. And he still wrestled. So when a guy like that tells you that the product is soft, you go, yeah? Compared to you, we're very soft. Compared to the David Schultz, compared to the Ric Flairs, compared to the Dusty Rhodes, compared to the old school hardcore manly man, Stan Hansen, Terry Funk, Jack Briscoe, oh them big men, even Bruno Sammartino and Andre the Giant. Like back then, it was a completely different business. And I dare say Taker is the last of a dying breed. I think the last few wrestlers who come from that pay your dues, get your ass kicked, learn old school, learn the trade from the bottom and work your way up, that kind of old school mentality. The last people to do that, really, CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Keith Lee. That's it. That's literally it. Keith Lee is the last one. Anyone else went to a wrestling school. Yeah, they took some bumps, but they were very well protected. They didn't have to, work in all these other wrestling promotions, go across the sea, work in Japan, work in Australia, and then come back after 10 years of working in the indies, get a shot at WWE. That's what Taker did. Taker wrestled 1987. He trained 1986 and then trained 1987, spent 3 years before he got to WWE and became the Undertaker. You don't see that a lot. Most of these guys go to the the WWE Performance Center. I think NXT because that's where it is. Do a couple of things, impress the coaches. Oh, look, you're on NXT TV. Not really paying their dues. So yeah, I understand what Taker is saying when he says they're soft. That said, is it a bad thing? Is it really a bad thing that the wrestlers nowadays, the Miz's, the Drew McIntyre, although Drew McIntyre is also someone who, in my opinion, resembles that old school mentality. I don't think he quite did as much as Taker and all them other ones did, but he is someone that at one point in time, he came up through the WWE system and then he got fired, but then he went and did the whole, okay, I'm going to bust my ass on the indie circuit and work my way back up. So he does resemble that mindset a little bit. You can tell he does. But regardless, you look at these people who didn't do it. Is it necessarily a bad thing? I don't know how I feel about it, because what I do think it's important to build some respect for the wrestling industry. And the only way you can do that is by paying your dues. There's a side of me that is kind of happy that these wrestlers are going to have longer lifespans. I mean, ask yourself. Look at the people on top right now. Look at the people who've been on top for the last decade or so. People like John Cena. People like Randy Orton. People like... we go down the list. Even people like Charlotte Flair and Becky, Bayley, Sasha. Brock was someone who came up. Although, that's another one that I could even put in the same category as a John Cena. He was just a natural freak. He was a freak athlete. He went to a wrestling school, did OVW, and then got to the WWE roster. So he didn't necessarily pay his dues as much as we would like to think he does. But look at Brock Lesnar. He's made more money than pretty much any of the legends we could imagine in this past decade alone. The man gets paid $12 million a year to just come and wrestle 4 matches. So you have to think about that. You say they're soft, and they might be. Matter of fact, you're right. Compared to Undertaker, who's had like 100 injuries, 100-something injuries in his entire career. Yeah, we're soft. But is that a bad thing? Now, I see some people in the live chat saying that some of the wrestlers are pussies. They're pussified. They don't want to, they don't know how to take criticism. And you're right. There is something to be said about building intestinal fortitude, being able to build that thick skin. Although, that's a completely different argument than what Taker is saying here. Taker was talking about how the wrestlers back then, I would always be in the gym, right? I go backstage. Nowadays, I see people on video games and they're being buddy. Hell, back then, back in my locker room, the men that I had knives and guns. They were grizzly old men, like hairy men, manly men, toxic masculinity at its finest. You know what I mean? That's different. Like, There is a completely different argument that could be made about learning how to handle criticism. Because, yeah, you're right. Like, in that instance, there is a downside. That is a major downside to this generation. It's just like, y'all, like, why do you give a shit what some nobody on Twitter who doesn't even have a picture profile says about you? The only reason why it hurts you is because you think that way. That's what it is. A lot of these times, these wrestlers hear these or read these comments on social media and it bothers them because that's how they feel. That's how it works in me. A lot of times people might say something, whether it's on Twitter or my Facebook or Instagram, wherever I see it, even here on YouTube. I'll read that comment and I'll go, damn, fuck this guy. And a lot of times the reason why I feel that way is because there's a side of me that believes him. There's a side of me that thinks he's right. Just like Taker saying this. Taker coming out and saying the roster is soft. If there's a wrestler that comes out and says, we're not soft, that pretty much means you're right. Here's the right response to this. This is the right response people should have to Taker. This is what I'm going to say. Are we soft? Is this generation in general, like the generation, not just with wrestling, but people like me, are we soft compared to what you went through? Yes. But does that mean it's a bad thing? No. Just because we don't work as hard or deal with as much as you did, doesn't make it any worse. I just believe it's smarter. Work harder or work smarter. Not saying the way Taker went through it is a bad way. I personally think his way is something that we need. We need people to pay their dues and come up with that sort of mentality because it builds toughness, it builds intestinal fortitude, it builds heart, it builds respect. But let's not get mad at people like The Miz. Let's just call it this. Miz, the most dues he's ever paid was Tough Enough. And you look at Miz's resume, multiple time IC champ, US champ, tag team champ, world champ. The guy has a very, very strong resume. Simple as that. Ezekiel T. Hey, Alyx, man, you got a massive forehead. Thank you. I know I have a massive forehead. I'm okay with that. My feelings aren't hurt. And if my feelings get hurt, that's not your fault. That's on me. Like, okay, Alyx, you don't like your forehead. Okay, if you don't like your forehead, do something with this to make it not seem as obvious. You know, it's fine with me. Okay? But regardless, the wrestlers shouldn't really get their feelings hurt about this. Okay? Taker thinks that they're soft. Compared to him, you are. You're always going to be soft. What matters is, all right, are you making money? Are you building respect for the business? Are you still, one way, shape, or form, telling good stories, becoming a star, doing all that kind of stuff? Did Roman Reigns pay his dues? Did Roman Reigns come up the way Taker came up? Different strokes for different folks. Let me give you one more. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. The Rock was literally thrown into the WWE circle because he was the son of an old school Rocky Johnson. Sucked. Didn't really have much to him. But he came up without really going through the indie circuit. He just got thrown out there and he made the most out of it. One of the biggest stars ever. Bigger than Taker. That's for sure. Sometimes it's okay to, how do I put this? Not everyone has to go through the indies to be stars. Sometimes if you're a natural, like a Brock Lesnar, you're good. This is something I will say though. Let me just say this. I will put this out there. I do see a lot of wrestlers who feel like they're better than Taker, who feel like they know more than Taker, who feel like they can't take criticism, who feel like, in my personal opinion, the people who are easily hurt by someone's comments, that is a downside. That is something that should be looked into. Those people should not be in the business, period. Because to be a wrestler, you listen, this is what I'm gonna say. If I was taking a bump, especially with Taker, like two times a day, 7 days a week, Jesus Christ. Okay. If I had to bump for a living, that means I had to deal with pain on a regular basis. And not just inside the ring, sometimes outside the ring, sometimes basically hurting myself on purpose. The last thing I give a shit about is what someone says on Twitter. If I take a bump, the last thing I care about is what you have to say. You know, wrestling's fake. Sometimes you need to teach people, you know, to show some manners, like David Schultz did when he slapped that reporter. Bitch, is it fake now? But that was back then. That was back then when people still thought wrestling was real. There was a good portion of the audience that actually thought wrestling was real back in the 80s, like late 70s, early 80s. Now the cat's out of the bag. Who cares? Okay? You don't know what I go through on a regular basis. You don't know what these wrestlers go through on a regular basis. So, I don't know. I personally feel, this is just my opinion. Yes, Taker is right that the current roster is soft. Or he can even argue that wrestling nowadays, not just in WWE, NXT, AEW, ROH, Impact, you name it. Yes, compared to what he went through, the wrestlers are soft. Compared to the Shawn Michaels, the Ric Flairs, the Hulk Hogans, the Undertakers, the I was gonna say Kurt Angle. Even Kurt Angle was someone who came from a wrestling school, got thrown into WWE. He didn't necessarily pay his dues either, you know. But compared to the Stone Cold Steve Austins and all of them who came up through the indies, who came up through that old school mentality, yeah, you can argue that they're soft. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, though. I don't think it's a bad thing. These wrestlers will get to live a longer life. They get to go home to their families. They get to actually be there, get involved. I don't know if that's necessarily something that's bad. That's just my take. That's just my take on it. I respect Taker. I'm not saying he's wrong either. I just don't think necessarily it's really all that bad. The only thing I will give him is that there are some wrestlers who feel entitled, who feel pussified, like they don't have to earn anything. I like that term, pussified. When I say pussified, I'm talking about the ones who can't take criticism, who don't like learning, who like to think that they're hot shit, and who like to listen to people stroke their egos. Those people can go. If those are the people Taker is calling out, screw them. But I'm sorry. I don't want every wrestler to have to go through what Taker went through. You get what I'm saying? I think it's actually ridiculous to expect every wrestler to pay the dues that Taker did, work as hard, take as many bumps. I would think, if it was me, I'd be like, look, I envy you. That's what Taker probably is. He probably envies them. He probably does, actually. Envy the wrestlers nowadays. But if it was me, I'd be like, y'all got it good. Y'all got it really good. Don't waste it. Do not waste it. All right, well, that's my thoughts, y'all. I mean, I don't know. It's just, I get what he's saying, but I don't know if I can agree with it. But tell you what, maybe you guys have a completely different perspective on this. Let me get some of your thoughts. Let me go to the live chat. Let me read what you guys have been saying. I'm very curious to know what you all have been talking about here in the live chat. Darnell 16 player says WWE has gotten soft, and criticizing them will get them upset, and they will block you like, what the F? Right. Completely different conversation. I do believe if you're taking a bump more than once, don't get caught up in your fucking feelings. Simple as that. No one's telling you how to act. No one's telling you what to think. It just gets to a point where you need to get control of your feelings. No one is responsible for how you feel. If someone, especially if it's a guy with no profile picture, says that your match sucked, clearly you thought it sucked too. Seth Rollins. Just saying. Tavon Jameson, the early 2000s Divas division that gave us some intergender matches, bra and panties matches, and crazy moments weren't soft. We're talking about a time when Mae Young and Fabulous Moolah were taking bumps with the Dudley Boys. Where Mae Young, Fabulous Moolah even, got RKO'd by Randy Orton. Stacy Keibler ate an RKO. Completely different time. That said, I mean, let's call it like it is. The women back then who were in that position, most of them are on drugs. Most of them have either cleaned themselves up and gotten better, but they used to be on drugs, or still on drugs. It was a completely different time, man. Braxton Guevara. World's too PC. The world is too politically correct. They can't do what they did in the late 90s, mid 2000s. People would get too offended. Oh, trust me, I agree with that. I agree with that. I'm not even saying that the world isn't sensitive. But still, like, you gotta take into account, look, some people are just, they're just smarter. They don't want to work as hard when they don't need to, you know. Hell, you know, people get mad at LeBron James for the way he works and the way that he performs. Like, he'll flop and flip and cry over the slightest injury or the slightest amount of pain, while Michael Jordan came from an era where he was getting pushed around, punched down, and beaten up. You know, that's that old school mentality there. Let's see, Mr. Cake. The most dues he's paid was the situation with Benoit. I don't know what he's talking about. No idea who he's referencing. Do I think Shawn Michaels has paid his dues? Absolutely. Shawn Michaels came up. Didn't he come up with through AWA? Came up through AWA. It was either NWA or AWA. I think it's AWA. Came up through AWA probably, and you know, worked his way through the Indies, and then got to WWE as the Rockers. I think he got fired at one point and then came back. Yeah, he paid his dues. He was someone that came up through the indie circuit. Hulk Hogan, yes, that's another one. Didn't Hogan start in Japan? And then came to the state, then he went to AWA, and then he went to WWE. So yeah, it's very common to start from the indies and work your way up. Let's see here. If Taker were coming up today, he would be retired in 3 years. Times have changed and injuries are taken far more seriously today. Taker, first off, you're right. Especially nowadays with the protocols in WWE, 100 injuries. Oh, they wouldn't. You gotta understand something. We're not just talking like, oh, I got scratched. Injuries as in broken bones, broken eye sockets, separated shoulders, separated disc, broken legs, to the point where his body is made out of metal. Okay? That's an injury. Edge hurt his neck, and they told him he can't wrestle again. Daniel Bryan hurt his neck, and they told him they would never let him wrestle again. Undertaker was able to have 100 injuries and still wrestle. You gotta understand, it's a completely different time. It's not the same. It's not the same. I will say this though. I do feel like there is a certain amount of respect that comes along with those injuries. It's almost like badges when you have an injury from wrestling. They respect you more. You know, it's like that. It's like an army thing. Like when you go to war and you come back with a scar, people honor you for that. It's like badges, tokens of war, something like that. It's not just wrestling. The NBA and overall sports in America have gotten soft. Tokyo Rockstar, yeah, I agree. Martin Braun. Let me see. I'm literally going through all the comments. Let's see here. I have turned on Mustafa Ali this past year. All he does is complain. Mustafa Ali is a different kind of story. I've seen Mustafa Ali work. I've seen him work his way up through the indie circuit. I've seen him work in Cruiserweight Classic. I've seen him work on 205 Live. I've seen him work on the main roster. He's a great talent. He has all the tools. He has a unique look. He can talk and he can wrestle. Plus, he has a personality. The guy has it. It's just he has bad booking. Totally different. Not the same thing. Not the same thing whatsoever. He has every right to complain. Every right. If he was to have gotten good booking and then it bombed and then he complained, then I'd be right there with you. I would agree. But it's not the same. It's not the same. You can't compare. For example, you can't compare Seth Rollins to Mustafa Ali. Seth Rollins got the mega WWE push. We're talking about WWE Championship. Well, first off, won the Rumble, beat Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship, plus, Universal Championship, Universal Championship, and then won the WWE Championship before then, in 2015, right? So WWE Champion, IC Champ, US Champ, was he US Champ? Whatever. IC Champ, Tag Team Champ. They gave Rollins everything. Who do you know has 2 victories over Brock Lesnar? Not a lot of people, exactly. They gave him everything, and then he flopped. And then he decided to blame all of that on the fans. No, sir. No, sir. That is completely ridiculous. They gave you everything, and you just couldn't hack it as a top guy. Ain't no one trying to hear Seth Rollins bitch at us about, oh, the reason why I thought it was because of you. No, you take responsibility for your shit. They gave you everything, and you couldn't hack it. Completely different. A totally different story compared to a Mustafa Ali. A Mustafa Ali who didn't get any of that. You get what I'm saying? So when you're talking about people who are soft, Taker is looking at Seth Rollins. He's soft. He S-A-W-F-T, a soft. God, I miss Enzo and Cass. Who here also misses Enzo and Cass? I missed him like a motherfucker. I missed him, bro. Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, I was reading comments. Okay, who did I just get done reading? What was that? Okay, Martin Braun. Mr. K, I agree with Taker's comments. It's how I feel about the AEW locker room. Say for people like MJF, FTR, Lance Archer, Team Taz, who can handle themselves on the microphone. Well, it's a little unfair because AEW has a lot of green talent. Literally 90% of the women's division are green. They've never been on TV before. Ever. They might as well just be starting out for the first time ever. Give them some time. Not fair. It's not the same. But I like that you mentioned those names. FTR, MJF, Lance Archer, even Team Taz. Yeah, like a lot of them spent most of their careers on the indie circuit. And now this is their time to shine on TV, and of course they're killing it because they understand what they need to do. But you look at the top guy in AEW, who is it? Jon Moxley? Chris Jericho? Oh, 2 prime examples of studying under old school mentality. Especially Jon Moxley. That's old school. Michael Walker, the irony is these guys, the old guard, were the same as the talent within developmental, feeling shortchanged, but had to be humbled to become the men and women of today. It's funny. Like we live in generations where, and I see us becoming this one day. We look at how hard we had it, right? And then we see the new generation coming up and we see how easy they have it. It's natural for us to be envious of that. That's not just in wrestling, that's period. That's just human nature. But you're right. It's funny how the old guard is becoming the people that they hated when they were younger. Putting us down. These kids don't get it nowadays. I'm like, well, is it because we don't get it, or is it because we're just smarter? If I could make $1 million, if I could make as much money as Taker and last longer doing it and become a bigger star, why do it? Sorry, but look at the situation. I gave you an example. The Rock. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson didn't do nearly as much as Taker did. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is literally the highest paid actor in motherfucking Hollywood right now. So can you get mad at him? I don't think so. Ultra Shell 97. Road Dogg blocked me because I criticized him. Gino Morgan TV with the $5 super chat. Gino, I'm curious, will you be challenging Nickname My next Sunday for the Royal Rumble Super Chat Championship? We have Victor Velasco saying he'll challenge. I wonder if Gino Morgan TV will be up to snuff to take on Nickname My. Alyx, you're awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, Ultrashot 97 says Road Dogg blocked me because I criticized him. It was during the time when he was writing SmackDown. Blocked me too. That's soft as soft can be. He's always been soft though. Brian James has always been someone considered to be soft. He can take bumps, but he was never that kind of an old school worker. Which is kind of sad because he comes from a family. The Armstrongs? Oh, man. Man, you talk about old school, get the belt off the... No, not even get the belt. Go get a switch. I'm gonna beat that ass if you cut up. Old school. Man. It's not the same. The Beat Jr., I got on Goldust for some creative stuff back in 2013. He blocked me, but he unblocked me in 2017. Am I still blocked by Goldust? I'm curious to know if he even unblocked me. He probably didn't, but let me see. I think I'm blocked. Yeah, he still blocked me. Oh well, because he blocked me from same time actually. 2000. Well, actually, it's 2015 when I was trying to push for him to fight Cody at WrestleMania. And he's all like, "It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen." And then they had their match in 2019. I'm just like, this is the match we could have gotten at WrestleMania. Dag nabbit. He still hasn't unblocked me by then, by the way. Twitter's a cesspool. We can agree on that. Michael Walker. If we're talking Taker in his prime, no. Taker now, you betcha. What was that referencing? No idea who he was talking to right there. Let's see. I think I can go ahead and get to the current comments here. What are people saying currently? Kane, the bad guy. I don't hate this generation at all. I see how many wrestlers I grew up watching are either physically broken or dead. Or on drugs. Man, even Kurt Angle at some point in time was on drugs. He was on painkillers. It was a rough business. So yeah, you can sit here all day and talk about how this generation is soft, but goddamn, the shit that the old school generation went through, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. The drugs, the suicides. Oh my goodness, no, we're not doing that. Martin Braun, Moxley is definitely a guy that's paid his dues. He grew up in a rough environment. Now look at him. And he's earned it. Jimbo Jack, if Vince had the type of wrestlers that he wants, not the Hunters ones, the Triple H ones, I bet it would make the WWE watchable again. Remember, Vince creates stars like Hogan, Undertaker, The Rock, and John Cena. I think the problem with Vince is you have to... thank you, Gino Morgan TV. Please donate to my Patreon. That would be really awesome. You can even suggest and request video topics. That would be great. Thank you. That would be awesome. Anyways, Vince's mentality is one of old school, but the problem with him is he's so caught up in how things used to work, he doesn't see what it takes to make things happen nowadays. Yeah, and that's the truth. That's the reality of the situation. He's way out of touch. Jeff Hardy is an example of a wrestler. Oof, that poor dude. Damn. When you think about all the stuff that he put his body through, what are you gonna do? Adam Ritter wants to get blocked. It looks like it. Nia Jax should be my girlfriend. You're trying to get blocked. You better be careful. I'm just joking. The Crash Kingdom. Life has changed. Technology, people, everything has changed. So it makes sense for wrestling to change as well. Again, like, people want to sit here and act like, well, Taker is right. These wrestlers are soft. The wrestlers nowadays are going to live to be 70, 80. Yes, you're going to have a few that do that now from the old school generation. How many do you know? How many wrestlers do you know that are alive right now that are Ric Flair's age? That are Hogan's age? But look at them. Look at Hogan can barely walk. People. Hogan can barely walk. Jake the Snake Roberts. Look at him. There was a point in time before he met DDP, the guy was getting ready to commit suicide. Thankfully, DDP saved him. Jesus Christ. There's something to be said about coming up from that era. You're a lot tougher. You're more bred for success. But what's wrong with being more successful because you're smarter? The problem is there are no casual fans left anymore. So if Vince tries to push the known indie darlings as his products, it will never work. You can still create a good product with the indie wrestlers. You can still have good storytelling. And why are we sitting here acting like these guys don't take bumps either? Are you kidding me? Some of these moves that they're doing are a lot more dangerous than the moves they used to take back then. Are you serious? I remember a time where jumping off the top rope was dangerous. Oh my God, he jumped off the top rope and did a splash. I do that now. I don't do that now. I used to do that as a kid. I used to jump off my bed and do a splash with my brother. That was fun. But you get the idea. Like, that's nothing. A shooting star press or a 630? No, sir. You can't make me. Well, anyways, give me your thoughts about this. Like, in the comments down below, let me know how y'all feel. Because you have to question whether or not is this really a bad thing for our current generation. Yes, The Undertaker made a point, and I'll even say he's right. Compared to what he went through, we are a lot softer. But is that really a bad thing? Because the people who went through all that, look at Taker, over 100 injuries, and he's 55, and the man can barely walk. Lots of respect. Thank you so much for everything you've done. You will never ever see me hate on Taker for what he's done for the business. With that said, is it a bad thing to work smarter? What's wrong with working smarter making just as much money and being able to live to be 80 and still walk? You tell me. Would you rather be an Undertaker or would you rather be a Randy Orton? Let me know down below in the comments. Well, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time for more here in Alyx's World. You guys take it easy. Peace out.